Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you're doing good. Today we're going to be talking about 4 things you should never do as a bike packer. Okay, so if you're new to the channel and you enjoy bike content, please consider hitting the bell icon down below to be notified when I release new videos. Also, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button. Okay, so let's not waste more time and let's get started with number 1. First thing you should never do, not listening to your specific needs.
I've seen too many riders pigeonholing themselves with what others deem essential.
So what others are doing answers their specific needs and not yours. So it's super important to take what others are doing with a grain of salt. What works for them might not work for you. Trying to copy exactly what other more experienced riders are doing is a surefire way to not enjoy your trips. Everyone has different priorities. You need to figure out yours and adjust your kit accordingly. We also all live in different places with different climates, and that requires very specific gear. It's very important to stay flexible, listen to yourself, listen to what your body is telling you, and adjust accordingly. At the end of the day, they're not going to be joining you on your trip, and you will be the one suffering through your experience. Now, listening to your needs is not all about gear. It's also about how you plan your trip. You will have a lot more fun doing a 30-mile day if this is what you feel you need to be doing, rather than trying to push yourself to do a 60-mile or 100-mile day if that's not what you're into. There's a lot of different ways to bike pack. People do it for a lot of different reasons, and these reasons require different types of setup. Okay, number 2, waiting to have the perfect kit to go on your first bikepacking trip.
Waiting to have the perfect kit can become the perfect excuse to stay put and not leave the comfort of home. It's really easy to stay stuck on the idea of a perfect setup and how it will shield you from all the hardships you may encounter. The truth is, the perfect setup does not really exist, as gear is a constantly evolving affair. There will always be the next big item that could make your kit so much better. Don't make that a condition for departure, and embrace the idea that good now trumps great later.
When I first started bikepacking, I was doing it with really cheap budget gear, and I was still having tons of fun. So budget and gear is not an indicator of how much fun you can have out there. Number 3, and I kind of touched on this in a previous video I did, the 4 tips before going on your first bikepacking trip. And that is to stay open to trying new things. That goes for gear, setup, how you plan your trip, and also how you go about your whole adventure. I think it's super important not to settle too soon into a specific setup and try a lot of different gear. You might surprise yourself and find something that usually would fly under the radar that works best for you.
For example, tents might work, but maybe a bivy is more your style, and until you give it a shot, you won't know for sure. This is also a good way to avoid trends and use what actually works.
Lastly, number 4, and is probably the most important to me, and that is telling other bikepackers how they should be enjoying their trip. I think there's a big difference between providing input and sharing experience with a fellow rider as to what could be a more efficient or a better way to set up or go about their adventure, versus something that is rooted in judgment and putting down a fellow rider for doing something that doesn't follow the norm. So if you find yourself in a position where you feel like you might be judging a fellow bikepacker for the way he goes about his adventure, or the way he uses his gear, or even his gear choice, maybe stop and ask yourself if the comment you're about to do will help that person enjoy their experience more. Alright, that's it, we're done. So if you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button. As always, stay safe, ride often, and I'll see you next time.